Good morning, world of readers! I am Book Dragon Erin, and I would like to welcome you all back to my booktube channel, where today I will be reviewing Lords of Darkness by Amanda Richardson. Lords of Darkness is a contemporary fiction reverse harem romance novel. It is also book one in the Darkness Duet, and in the Darkness Duet we have two books, Lords of Darkness and Lady of Darkness. Readers who read this book also enjoyed Beautiful Devils by Eva Ashwood, Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. I read this book and I fell so hard for Diesel Viper that I am now needing therapy because of all the kinks and fetishes he is into. Why do I always fall in love with the psychopaths? I have no idea. Then we also have First Comes Blood by Lilith Vincent. My girlfriend turned me onto this novel, and I loved it. I am going to review that book for you in a few weeks. And then we also have Sinner by Chantal Tessier. I have not read this book yet, but it is on my TBR pile immediately. There is no choosing, only begging. The lords own me, and they're never going to let me go. Or so that's what they tell me. Lord ALARIC Cross, Lord Gideon St. Clair, Lord Sterling Beauchamp, and Lord Theodore Wolfe are the four brooding men who make my worst nightmares seem tame. To the public, they're titled aristocrats with royal lineage. In secret, they make up the Lords of Darkness, an ancient order that rules the underbelly of England with a lethal iron fist, leaving skeletons in their wake. As fate would have it, my father was the fifth Lord of Darkness. His sudden death means that I am now a Lady of Darkness. I refuse to go along with their sick, twisted games, and I will never fall to my knees before them, even when they insist on breaking me for their own sick and twisted pleasures. Like all predators hunting their prey, they sink their vicious fangs in, possessing my mind, my body, and my soul. They may think they can win, but all they've done is awaken the beast inside of me that's so capable of breaking them instead. Deep down, I have always been my father's daughter, a Lady of Darkness. After all, it's in my blood. Once I read the first chapter of this book, I was hooked with no hope whatsoever or want of being let go until I finished this book in one sitting. And this is 350 pages of smut and mafia steam, and I loved it. If I could reread this book for the first time all over again, sign me up. This is the crown jewel of mafia romances that I have read this year. I love Harlow as our leading lady. She battles anxiety and PTSD over a past assault, but she doesn't let her attacker win. She still smiles, she still remains herself, and she's still got the tough streak and sarcasm that's like a fire unable to ever be put out. Out of all the heroines that I have read about this year, Harlow is my favorite fictional heroine of them all. I also love how the Lords of Darkness, Alaric, Gideon, Sterling, and Theo, each have their own interests besides their dedication to the Lords of Darkness order. One of them actually has OCD, that's Alaric. Another is obsessed with music. The other one wanted to be a lawyer before he became involved with the Lords of Darkness. And out of all the Lords of Darkness, Alaric is my favorite. Be still my heart. I would marry him. I love the fact that his OCD makes it seem like he really likes things tidy. And then I also love the description of him removing his tie and then unbuttoning the few buttons on the top of his shirt. That description was so sexy. Where can I find an Alaric of my own? I want to marry him immediately. Put a baby in me. I think my favorite parts of this entire book include the scenes when Harlow visits England from New York City to visit with her stepmom and half-brother, Cecilia and Archie, after the death of her father. Harlow is her father's illegitimate child, but Cecilia and Archie adore her and love her as a part of their family. So we don't get the evil stepmother trope here, which I so appreciate, because out of all the fairy tale retelling tropes that I have actually read in the past. The Wicked Stepmother is my least favorite. I can't stand books like that, so this was a nice change from what I am generally used to, even though this is not a fairy tale retelling. I also really like how when Harlow is first abducted by the Lords of Darkness, she questions them, and they tell her to shut up and listen. She does, but she raises her hand like a student in school when she actually has a question. That is low-key sass right there, and I love it. And this is coming from a girl who doesn't understand sass or sarcasm, but apparently has it in certain situations. So even though I don't understand sarcasm, I can be a sarcastic little bitch sometimes. And I don't even realize I'm doing it when I'm doing it. So kudos to the people who can understand sarcasm, because it's certainly not me. I also enjoyed when Harlow realizes that the Lords of Darkness need a fifth member, and it's either her or her half-brother, Archie. She becomes a Lady of Darkness to protect her kid brother, rather than letting him endanger himself and possibly die at an early age. I think that is so noble and one of the truest of braveries. Sacrificing yourself to save somebody that you love. I love that. It is a tearjerker moment for me, but I love that all the same. And, of course, the steamy as hell sex scenes. I won't give you any details on any of the sex scenes because I definitely want you guys to read this book for yourselves, and I promise it is so worth the read. The smutty scenes are spectacular. The character development is so good, and I just love the way these characters interact with each other, because yes, they do get on each other's nerves, but they also build each other up to be an even more powerful character, and I just love that. This book, dark and twisted as it is, made my heart ache for Harlow. The night her mom was murdered by a house intruder, that same man assaulted Harlow, making her go into a psychotic episode that put her into a mental institution prior to her PTSD about the situation. I wanted to cry for Harlow because I know what psychosis is like, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone, including my worst enemies. Another thing that I relate to in concerning Harlow is her love for reading books. She has a techie Kindle, like me, and on that Kindle are tons of smutty mafia romance novels. I love mafia romance novels. The big shocker concerning her Kindle and her mafia romance hoard is when the Techmaster Lord of Darkness hacks into her Kindle and adds to her smutty romance collection with books on European history and family history. Don't get me wrong, I love European history, but the idea of somebody hacking onto my Kindle and messing with my hoard of BDSM romance novels, that is just a nightmare to me. I can't imagine anyone doing that, and then I would be calling in favors from old friends who still owe my family favors from a couple generations ago. Mess with my Kindle and you mess with me, that's it. About halfway through this book, I realized a lot of this book was just character development and not much plot, so I did wonder, will this book become one of those I read this book so you don't have to novels? And once the smutty scenes came up again, that thought went right out the window. I can see where the saving graces to this novel would be the smut and steam, especially to some readers who aren't particularly invested in reverse harem romance novels, but I personally enjoyed this novel tenfold, and I highly recommend it to anyone who loves mafia romances, British bad boys, or reverse harem romance novels that are all over the smut. I'm serious, read this book, you will not be disappointed. My biggest worry in this entire book was how the Lords of Darkness would react to their lady trying to kill them with arsenic brownies to go back to her old life as a starving artist in New York City. That ship sailed long before you slept with any of them, Harlow, so you're going to mess this up badly. My heart was in my throat during the cliffhanger scene, and I literally cried when Alaric, Gideon, Sterling, and Theo put the arsenic brownies in their mouths, claiming, "We would die for you, Harlow. Don't you know that? If this is what you really want, fine. Let our order end here and now." Harlow did realize that she made a terrible mistake, and begged them not to kill themselves, and they didn't, thank God. But the idea of the lords actually going to kill themselves all for Harlow brought me to so much literary anxiety that I was crying. Like, there were tears streaming down my face. I was begging them silently, please don't kill yourselves. Harlow made a mistake. She's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. There has to be a happily ever after in the next novel because there is a guaranteed HEA. Hopefully, my mind was racing in that scene. I was so freaking out. The only time in this book that I was genuinely angry with Harlow was when she tried to kill the lords with arsenic brownies. Yes, they're twisted. Yes, they're dangerous. Yes, they kill people, but they genuinely love her, and she risked it all, throwing away their love with last night's trash by trying to murder them for a life that no longer is a possibility for her. Harlow is a lady of darkness through and through, and she realizes that a bit too late. Don't worry, the lords don't genuinely kill themselves, but they do get close, which does give you anxiety, especially if you fall hard for one of the lords like I have. If I were Harlow, I wouldn't want my old life back. I would want the uncertainty and promise of adventure that the future would hold for me. I wouldn't care about being in danger or live a shorter lifespan because I have 4 lords out there taking care of me and protecting me and loving me for the rest of my days. All I've ever wanted in life was to be loved and have adventure and be a writer, and it infuriates me any and all times that someone, whether real or a fictional character, is willing to give all of that up to go back to the life that they once had and once knew. Once you're leaving that life, it's gone. There is no promise that you're going to get it back, and why would you even want that back? You need to go to the undiscovered country, which is the future, and you need to risk it all, or you'll live with regret for the rest of your life. Like, in your old age, you'll be thinking, wow, I should have done that. I should have gone on that adventure. I'm that type of person who's like, I'm going on that adventure no matter what. Call me reckless, I call myself adventurous. Before I get any more emotional on the idea of these lords committing suicide, or the idea of getting back an old life that no longer is an option to you, I will move on to my favorite Lord of Darkness, ALARIC CROSS. He is the one with OCD and looks sexy as hell, taking off his tie and unbuttoning his shirt. He says that he's a monster and believes it as fact, even though that is not the case. If I could interact with any of these fictional characters, I would seek out ALARIC to kiss away his tears and promise him that he isn't the monster he thinks he is. After consoling him, I would ask him to give me a baby. Yes, I've got a girlfriend, but she knows I would never leave her for a fictional character. She actually thinks that it's so hilarious how I obsess over fictional characters, and when we talk to her friends about sexy alpha males or British bad boys, she's all, ladies, please stop showing my girlfriend photos of hot as hell fictional men whom she would ask to give her a baby. As far as my final notes go, my rating for this book, 5 out of 5 stars, hands down. I loved this book. This is one of my favorite reverse harem romance novels of all time. And as far as my official review goes, I loved this book immensely, related to Harlow in personality and certain traumas, but I can't see how this cliffhanger ending will turn into a happily ever after of 5 strong power players who will rule the underworld together. My heart aches for Harlow and the 4 Lords of Darkness, and I am wondering how this darkness duet will end. I am literally praying for a happily ever after for Harlow, ALARIC, Gideon, Sterling, and Theo, because they all deserve a happily ever after, and it kills me inside that this book ends on a cliffhanger, but there is a promise of another book. I am reading the other book now, and oh my gosh, holy stars, I love that book too. Anyway, before I go into any more obsession over how much I love this book, I am going to end the video here, so if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button to show some support, subscribe to my booktube channel to get more videos like this, turn on that notification button to be notified when I upload brand new videos every single Sunday. Keep on reading and have a great day, everyone!